Hi, for my second learning teaching interaction, I'm going to be basing this discussion or interaction off of the reflective questions from these last few weeks because I felt like they really helped me apply what we were learning to our workshop that we're doing. So, in chapter 4, it talked about the component display theory and how we can weave one of those principles into our lesson plans. And so one of the principles that I saw me and my partner using from the component display theory was teaching and telling stories. When teaching is telling stories, because we picked the topic that we did pick. We're doing a finance workshop. We picked that because we've had a lot of experiences and we have a lot of things to say about it, and so that's why we picked that one. We'll be able to tell experiences and draw experiences from the class members and use that principle when teaching. Also, it talked about creating and maintaining a balance of teacher talking with participant talking. So in order to create and maintain that balance, we're going to be asking questions throughout the lesson, inviting students to ask questions and make comments. There's going to be time for group work. There's going to be interactive activities. We're going to have a little time for students to play. There's going to be a little game. There's going to be things for them to fill out. A video we're going to show, just other things like that, but just encouraging the participants' communication throughout the lesson. Also in chapter 4, it talked about David Merrill's principles that are effective instructional principles, and so one of the ones that I appreciate is the power of demonstration, because I think it's important in order to apply the things they're learning. They need to know exactly what those things are, and so I think that's what the principle of demonstration helps with. I also think that curriculum should address a real-world problem. It's something that applies to the target audience. So for our target audience, they're BYU Idaho students, and since it's a finance workshop, we're going to be covering debt and planning with money, saving money, how to spend money wisely, and then just did a little bit on investing, but just things that will apply to our target audience that everyone has to deal with. So now I'll go on to chapter 5, and that was mostly about engaging an audience. And so I have, I think I mentioned this in the last learning teaching interaction, but I have a professor who, I'm taking a research class. And so my professor for that class will take the time to just discuss other topics with us. He asks how our weekends were, or he asks, has anybody found any ways, what does he say? He says, has anyone found any research application moments? I think that's what it is. And so just talking to us to get to know us better, applying what we've learned outside of class, and he's also really excited about the topic he's teaching, which is one of the things that chapter 5 discussed. And I think both of those are ways to get your students engaged, and if you're excited about it, then it'll help them to be more excited about what you're teaching. Also, in chapter 5, building relationships is a prelude to effective education. So then it talked about what we can do to build rapport with our students. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, so where was I? To build a rapport with our students, and the relationship between the learner and educator may be more important than the content of the lesson. So that was something that really stuck out to me, and I think that's extremely important because the students need to know that we genuinely care about them in order for them to want to apply what we're teaching. I think it's a lot easier to do the things you're being taught when you feel that love. So I'll jump down to chapter 6 now, just because I don't want to run out of time. But, so from the reading assignment, there were certain methods of teaching that you can use, and some of the ones that stuck out to me were using personal narratives, because I think when you tell a story of how it applies to you, it touches the hearts of the students quickly. It also helps them to apply it to themselves. And I think hearing stories helps me remember concepts better than just learning about the actual concepts. Also, skill training was something else that stuck out to me, because you first describe the skill, then you model it, then you help them practice it, then you receive reinforcement and give feedback, and then you use the skill. So it's just anything they need to know to be effective in using that certain skill or whatever you're trying to teach goes along with skill training, which is extremely important. And then going back to personal narratives, in the reflective questions for, I think, chapter 6, it asked, what could you do to improve the use of personal narratives? And I think that something I could do is, if we tell stories, then ask the class, okay, what impressions did you gain from this story? And just ask for feedback rather than, here's my story, okay, move on to the next thing. Also, I think it's really, so in chapter 7 it talked about being sensitive to the differences of others, and I think that, of course that's important, because the text emphasized that although you may have people from different backgrounds and cultures, within that culture or background, an individual and a family they're a lot different. No two are alike. And so I'm trying to find in my outline where I talked about teaching experiences. So in ways that I can improve my teaching, I thought about teaching experiences that I've had in the past. And the CES handbook talked about being prepared and just, preparing spiritually for the things that you'll be teaching. And so I think that even though we're not teaching only students that are outside of the gospel, we can still use the gospel to prepare for the lesson. So that's it. Thanks.